What's up, nerds? Welcome to another semester of Create Your Character. As my good friend Drew Brown mentioned, yes, I did cosplay during my visit to Colossal Con. I decided to cosplay as Smellerbee from the animated series Avatar: The Last Airbender, my favorite TV series as a kid, and still one of my favorite ones today. But hey, enough of my talking, let's head to the drawing board. Alright, so to start this whole thing off, I'm going to start with making the shoulder plate that Smellerbee wears. To do that, you will need some EVA foam, a heat gun, an X-Acto knife, Plasti Dip, and gray spray paint. I was able to measure the piece of foam against my shoulder to get the measurements right, and then proceeded to cut out the outline of the plate using the X-Acto knife that I mentioned before. Please make sure you are using some form of cutting mat underneath your workspace because X-Acto knives are very sharp and can ruin tables or other work areas. So just make sure you have a cutting board or an actual X-Acto mat to lay underneath the foam. The next step is pretty tedious, so don't try to do this in a rush. You want to take your foam with the smooth, untextured side facing upwards, and then heat it using the low setting on your heat gun for around 30 seconds, give or take. Begin to shape it to your shoulder and then rinse and repeat until you get the shape that you want. Before you do anything though, you'll want to move to a well-ventilated area to avoid breathing in fumes emitted from the foam during the heating process. Also, make sure to smooth out the rough edges where the foam was cut. If the edges are smooth, it will look more realistic and less sloppy. The next step after shaping is painting. A couple tips before you start is 1. Be in a well-ventilated area, and 2. Use gloves. I am well aware that I am not wearing gloves, but it also took me 2 hours of scrubbing and soap to get the Plasti Dip and spray paint off my hands, so do as I say, not as I do. You're first going to want to use Plasti Dip. Foam is naturally porous, and if you go straight to using spray paint, the foam will suck it all up and you'll go through more paint than you really need to, while also creating an uneven surface that doesn't look good at all. So the Plasti Dip creates a smooth coating over the foam that keeps that from happening. So first coat the entire plate in Plasti Dip. It's best to do this in stages to allow the coats to dry before starting on another area. And for best coverage, I recommend using at least 3 coats of Plasti Dip. So this is also going to take a long time, so again, please do not do this in a rush. Once absolutely dry, you can move on to spray painting. Make sure to apply the paint in even coats, and like the Plasti Dip, it will be best to apply at least 3 coats in stages. Wait until everything is dried and then attach the circular pieces with hot glue or super glue. Next, we're going to move on to Smellerbee's torso body piece thing that is assumably made out of leather, but we really can't tell in the animated series. To do this, I'm using thin sheets of brown foam, which can be obtained from literally any craft store. And then depending on how big you will be making the body piece, you will need at least 3 to 5 sheets of the foam. Paying attention to detail, the body piece that Smellerbee wears looks like it's made up of one piece of leather layered over another. To mimic this with as little foam as possible, measure and cut out the smallest layer, and then using a heavy-duty fabric glue, attach foam strips along the outer perimeter to make it look like there's a larger piece of leather underneath. Cosplay is all about deception. The sooner you know that, the better. Then, clean off any extra glue with a wet rag. After waiting an hour or so for the glue to dry, on new sheets of foam, cut out thin strips to be used for the shoulders and broad strips to be used to attach the body piece across the back. Always cut longer than you think you will need, but if you end up being a little short, you can always glue 2 strips together. After measuring the strips to your desired length, attach them using the same glue that we used before. Attach the thicker straps so they go over the small of your back. The shoulder straps need to be attached at the top of the shoulders and on the side of the upper rib cage. To attach the 2 thick straps, I'm using velcro command strips to make it easier to take the body piece on and off. The last piece of cosplay is the wig. The first thing to do is to take a wig cap and pull all the hair back. Next, I'm using a dark blue headband to mimic Smellerbee's bandana that she normally wears. Unfortunately, I was not able to find a wig that was both short and shaggy like Smellerbee's is, so I'm going to be cutting a long shaggy wig. To cut the wig, you will need 2 hair ties. First things first is to make sure they're both even, because there's nothing worse than an uneven wig. Second is to make sure that you're cutting directly above the hair tie, so plan for that accordingly. The main reason you're cutting above the hair tie is just to make sure you don't get a whole bunch of hair everywhere after you cut it. The hair ties will keep all of the stray hair in place. Then after the main pigtails are cut, I'm going in with just a pair of regular craft scissors and cutting at a downward angle to get rid of any blunt edges and to just even everything out. And then just keep doing this until it's the way that you like it. And then the last few details that I want to create are going to be the straps to attach the shoulder plate, the fabric piece attached to her waist, and the red arm wrap that she wears. The blue waist piece and the straps to the shoulder plate will both be made out of an extra large navy blue t-shirt. For the waist piece, cut out a triangle-shaped piece with thin straps at the top to tie around the waist. With the extra piece of t-shirt left over, cut 4 narrow strips and attach them to each corner of the plate with either super glue or hot glue. The last finishing piece, the red armband, will be cut from red fabric. This can be used from a red t-shirt or a red bandana, literally any kind of red fabric. And also, don't worry about getting a clean cut when you're cutting it. What only matters is that it's long enough to be wrapped around the arm a couple times before tying it off. Now that all the previous steps are completed, and it's the day of the con, you can actually put makeup on now. So first, I'm going to insert my dark green circle lenses before putting any makeup on. When it comes to makeup, I'm first going to apply foundation, concealer, and powder as a base, then move on to the eyes. Smellerbee has a dark rim around her eyes, so I'm going to take a black eyeliner and line my waterline, and then add mascara. The most important part of the makeup, however, is Smellerbee's face paint, which is a key point to her character. To get the lines on her jawline, I will be using just your standard red lipstick that you can get at any drugstore and applying it at an angle. And then after your makeup is all set, go ahead and apply your wig. Now, to put the outfit together, I will be starting out with a black long sleeve shirt and black skinny jeans. I'm aware that this isn't totally accurate, but I ran out of time to get all the needed clothing. Another thing about cosplay is that you need to learn to work with what you got. Layered above the jeans, I'm going to be tying the blue waist piece we made earlier, as well as a brown loosely fit belt. Next, put on your leather body piece. Also go ahead and put on the red armband and attach your shoulder plate. The shoulder plate will be a little awkward to put on due to the length of the ties, so don't be afraid to use any available resources, such as a friend, or your own teeth. And lastly for boots, I'm wearing your standard brown lace-up boots. Well guys, that's all I have for this character. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or you would like to request another character for me to do, don't be afraid to tweet me at ZTVGoofingOff with the hashtag CreateYourCharacter. Until then, I'm Becca Tyler, and this has been Create Your Character.